The member for Dubbo.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Energy and Environment. Could the Minister please update the House on how the government's policies on renewable energy zones will create jobs across New South Wales?
Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, what a great question from a great member, the member for Dubbo. And I know that he's not the only one in the chamber interested in jobs. Isn't that right, Ryan? I mean, there's a few people interested in talking about jobs here at the moment, Mr Speaker. And Mr Speaker, you know, it's great to be back in Parliament. It's been a great break. Had some great rulings already from you, straight out of the blocks early, Mr Speaker. Fantastic stuff. Put the lettuce away for this one, though, I have to say. Mr Speaker, here we are, a year close to the election, and those opposite, no closer to government. No closer to government. That's the reality, Mr Speaker. And it's been a tough summer. It's been a tough summer. They're still faced with the same choice. A leadership ballot between Marginal Mins and missing McKay. Well, Mr Speaker, let me give you a hot tip.
Member for Swansea, rise and appoint.
They can't vote for you if they don't know who you are, Mr Speaker.
It is 129. I'm very interested to hear about the renewable energy zone in the Hunter and what the Minister's plans are. So we'd like him to move on the
Thank you. Minister's
topics.
making preliminary comments. Thank you.
Mr Speaker, I do digress. I'll go back to the question. What was the question again? Anyway, the question about creating jobs in New South Wales, and there's no greater creator of jobs than the Berejiklian and Barilaro government in New South Wales, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, our energy roadmap is the biggest job creating scheme, the biggest nation building scheme since the whole Snowy Hydro, Mr Speaker, and that's the reality. As a result of our energy roadmap, we'll be delivering 9,000 construction jobs in New South Wales over the next decade, Mr Speaker. We'll be creating thousands of ongoing jobs to ensure that our kids and their kids have opportunities not only in the cities but mainly in the regions. It's a jobs bonanza for the bush, Mr Speaker, and that's what coalition governments deliver. Jobs, opportunities, investment. And did I mention the investment, Mr Speaker? Our energy roadmap will deliver over $50 billion of investment coming into New South Wales. Mate, this is jobs, this is investment, and most importantly, it will deliver New South Wales citizens some of the cheapest, most reliable and cleanest energy anywhere on the planet, Mr Speaker. And what does that mean? That means jobs. That means jobs, Mr Speaker. Jobs in new industries like green steel, green aluminium, cement, and of course hydrogen. But because of those low energy prices, not only is it going to drive down bills for families in New South Wales, it will mean an economic bonanza for those energy-intensive industries that already exist. Businesses like Tomago, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, and don't take my word for it, take the word of some of the biggest employers in the state, Mr Speaker. Take the word of the CEO of BlueScope, who said the New South Wales government's energy roadmap would stimulate a manufacturing renaissance in New South Wales, Mr Speaker. A manufacturing renaissance in New South Wales, delivered by a coalition government, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, but it's not just industry spruiking our wares, Mr Speaker. It's also the Australian Industry Group, the CEO, Innes Willis. You've heard of him, Premier, haven't you? He's an outstanding champion for business and jobs, Mr Speaker. He says that the New South Wales energy roadmap will lower costs overall. Low costs for New South Wales families, low costs for New South Wales businesses means jobs, 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 Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, it's a jobs bonanza right here in New South Wales. But Mr Speaker, you know, who is owning this space? It's not the party, the alleged party of the worker over there, Mr Speaker. It's a coalition government. A coalition government delivering jobs, driving investment into New South Wales, delivering low, cheap, reliable energy that also happens to be clean, that will set us up for success now and also into the future as we grab these new opportunities that are emerging in international markets, creating new industries around green steel, hydrogen, cement, manufacturing and agriculture, Mr Speaker. This is what coalition governments do, Mr Speaker. It's an exciting time to be in New South Wales. But, Mr Speaker, while we are focusing on creating new jobs, they're focused on taking other people's jobs, Mr Speaker. Other people's jobs, Mr Speaker. And I read a great piece from that fine investigative journalist from the Daily Telegraph, Anna Caldwell, Mr Speaker. And the extent of her investigations were picking up the phone to Steve Camper. And he said, Mr Speaker, he said that We've never been further behind. We're further behind than we've ever been, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Lakemba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, it's 129. Whilst the minister was talking about the energy in relation to the question, you noticed everybody was quiet. Once again, he has strayed well away from the question. The question was about renewable energy zones, I believe.
Thank you. I'm satisfied the member for Dubbo was on his feet before time expired.
Extension of time for more information.
I'm going to grant 2 minutes, and I ask the minister to make it relevant, please.
Mr. Speaker, it's about jobs, Mr. Speaker. It's about energy, creating jobs. Low energy prices mean jobs for the bush, jobs for the cities, jobs right across the state. We're a job-creating government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're driving new industries. We're investing in new opportunities, and we're underwriting the prosperity of today and tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, making sure that New South Wales is not only the powerhouse of the Australian economy, it's the powerhouse of the world because of those cheap, reliable and clean energy that we're going to be delivering as a result of this roadmap, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, you know, maybe it was the member for Lakemba that was the unnamed source in Anna Caldwell's article saying that we're further behind now than we've ever been, Mr.
Member
Speaker.
for Lakemba rises on a point of order.
I guess when
Member
your
for Lakemba.
choices are...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unlike him, I don't leak to the press. But secondly, Mr. Speaker, that is definitely 129 and well away from the question.
Mr. Speaker, I see lots of names
getting
being
it further.
touted as the future leader of the Labor Party, but no one is touting the member for Lakemba, Mr. Speaker, because they're touting many
said I'm
fine
going to hear
people.
further.
Get back to the point why they're further behind than they've ever been. When you've got names like Missing McKay, Marginal Mids, Can't Count Keira,
Member
Mr.
for
Speaker, and
Swansea,
Developer
rise on
Daily.
point of order.
Mr. Speaker, is it any wonder they're so far from government? It's not funny.
Member for Swansea.
It is Standing Order 70. The minister is being deliberately quarrelsome, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask for you to bring him back to the lead of the question.
Thank you. Minister, have you completed your answer? Yep, okay. Thank you.